Okay, just very few words. Her name, Tine Thusen, and the name of the keynote speaker, Up and Down on the Road to Entrepreneurship. The stage is yours. Give her applause.
Thank you. I understand that you guys have been speaking a lot about clean tech today. I'm going to try and talk a little bit more about entrepreneurship. And the reason for that is that there are a lot of rules that are the same. It doesn't really matter whether you're starting a clean tech company or whether you're starting a milk production company or whatever you're doing. There are some general rules, and those are the ones that I think are interesting, because everything comes for this drive that we have to create stuff, right? I mean, all of you guys have chosen to come in here on a Saturday where you could have been at home, on the couch, playing Nintendo or watching films or whatever you guys do, I don't know. But you've chosen to go like that one step above and beyond and turn up to something like this, because this is a place where you can start learning something, and it's a place where you can start doing something. And it's actually that attitude that's essential in creating everything that happens. So, I actually want to start giving all of you guys an applause for even turning up, because that is the first step to success. One of the things that I also want to talk about today is I want to talk a little bit about my journey and why I am the one who's standing up here on the podium today. And the reason I want to do that is not to show what I have achieved, because in my own definition, I'm only so far in a journey that hopefully goes to here. But I want to talk to you about it because I want to demonstrate that it's actually quite easy. And one of the things that I hate about all these big words and entrepreneurships, I mean, Christ, half the people can't even spell that, right? It's because it makes it sound so hard, and it's not. Like, you're in exactly the same position to start something successful as practically everyone else. We all start in the same place, and my story is very much a demonstration of how, if you really want it and if you're willing to work hard for it, you can get fairly far. So this is my newest startup now. It's called Everplaces. It's a technology startup where we let you save and share the places that you love. And this is the newest in what I have created, and the reason why I've put in this slide is because 10 days ago we opened for beta, and these are the places where the beta users have already saved places, yeah? So again, this is a demonstration of when you're starting something, if you think big, you can actually get things out pretty fast, pretty quickly. So we're a couple of people, not in a garage, we sit in at Founder's House, the equivalent of a garage, but you can create something that is noticed all over the world in a very short amount of time if you just do it right and if you dare to have the ambitions to do that. These are some of the other things that I've been involved with, and I'm not going to go through them, it's not relevant, it just goes to show that a lot of what I achieve comes from that I am just plainly involved with quite a lot of stuff, right? I just don't sleep very much. And things come from that. But it didn't start there. Like, I didn't start having a startup that was out in 30 countries and stuff like that. I started the same place where a lot of you guys are sitting, and a lot of you are probably already further than I was back then. The place where I started looked a lot more like this. So all of my journeys into this actually started by being involved in committees and stuff that organized, and where I really got a hang of it when I was a part of the social committee or the party organizing committee back when I was at college. And when I look back at it now, that was actually quite a defining point for what I've learned, because for the first time I needed to be able to manage money. I needed to be able to manage a team, and ultimately, if something fucked up, then it was me who would have to go and apologize to the principal. And being that person, the person that the buck stops with, that's a pretty motivating point, right? That's the first time where you take that step and say, okay, I'm putting myself on the line. This is my name, and I'm willing to take that risk. And at the time, of course, it was a big step, but I also But also in the other way, it was a small step because I didn't think that here I'm learning skills that I'm going to use for the rest of my life. I didn't realize that what I was learning was management, and it was operations, and it was finance, and it was marketing. And, I quickly learned that we didn't have nearly enough money to do the sizable parties that we wanted. Because throwing sizable parties is something I've made sure I master. It's still a very important skill, I think. So I quietly figured out that, hey, we have to know the Carlsberg guys because we have to pay the same price for the beers as everyone else. This is not going to work. And there's got to be some other people here who are willing to put in some money so we could do something more. And it's got to be possible that those bands we normally pay for, can't we get them to come for free if we offer them something in return? And all those things. For me, I was just solving a practical problem, which was I have so much money and I need this much. But actually, it turns out that is the core of the entrepreneurial challenge, right? That you have a little bit of resources and a lot of ambitions. So learning how to think creatively and solve that problem is something that you guys also need every day, right? And it's something that when you go into entrepreneurship, you're going to need even more. And that's why I am so happy to turn up to an event like this, because some of these guys that have put this event on are doing exactly that. Some of these guys, like Monica, for example, who's involved in organizing practically everything that's happening in Copenhagen right now, I have a lot of faith in those guys, and I think they're going to go really far. Because they're taking it even one step further than you guys. They're not just turning up on the Saturday. They've spent the last 50 Saturdays making sure it's going to happen. And if anything is going to happen in this country, if anything is going to happen in your life, that is because you are also willing to do that. It doesn't have to be organizing stuff. It can be your own thing. Start programming application, or start getting people together, or start attending courses you're going to need in 10 years. But it comes from being willing to do stuff that other people are not doing. Because you know what? If you do exactly the same as everyone else, if you take the weekend off because everyone else takes the weekend off, you know where you're going to end? We're going to end the same place as everyone else. And if that's not your ambition, if you have higher ambitions and bigger dreams, well, then you are going to have to do a little bit more for it. But I think that I'm preaching to the converted, because you guys are already here, right? So you are already doing more than average people, and that's fabulous. The next step that took me into this whole journey of entrepreneurship was this little boat here. Well, it's not that one, that's the one from there. But it was the equivalent boat to that. See, what happened is when I left college, I went actually to Italy, and then by accident I ended up in England, and even more by accident I ended up in investment banking. And this is pretty funny, right? Because, I mean, you guys are all from DTU, so I'm sure you have lots of skills being an investment banker, but I'm a linguistic student from Aalborg, normal middle class, and at the time I didn't know anything about numbers. But anyway, somehow I ended up in investment banking, and it was because I spoke 5 languages at that time, because I'd just been working in Italy and in Switzerland, and this big American finance company called me and said, do you want to come and work for us? And I thought, you must have got the wrong number, because I really I don't know what you do. I can see it's a fancy company, very pretty letterhead, but I don't know anything about what you do. And he said, nah, I mean, I know that, but the thing is that we have maybe underestimated the Europeanness of Europe a little bit. So we created this European service center in London, but Christ, people are not writing to us in English. Really believe it. So they made all these pretend departments, and they had an address in Poland, an address in Germany, an address, and then the people had the audacity to write to them in the language they thought they were communicating in. So brilliant trick with just having everything forwarded to London, but it doesn't actually work unless you can read the letters. So then they figured out that taking someone like me who could speak 5 of these languages, it's actually easier to take someone like me and teach me about finance than it was the other way around, because teaching someone a lot of languages also takes quite a long time. And this leads back to what we were doing before, because the last year before we were doing this, I'd been working in Italy and in Switzerland, and of all the people I was working with in Italy, I was the only one who bothered to learn Italian. So again, these opportunities don't just come at random. They come because you've been willing to do a little bit harder work before. So anyway, it turns out that this company that hired me was it's called Fidelity Investments. At the time, it was the biggest fund management company in the world, and at the time they were doing really well. So when I quit after about a year, you know, by then I realized what they did and found it even more boring. Then I had the blissful ignorance. And at that point, I thought, okay, I should go out and do something else. And I got hired into private banking. So private banking is essentially where you look after private people who have a lot of money. And I figured that, you know, I know marginally more than what I did before. And since it went okay before, then that is an okay starting point. The reason I got the job is because everyone said that, oh my God, you've been at Fidelity, you must be shit hot. Not, of course, knowing that I got into Fidelity because they couldn't talk to their customers, but it just shows that, you know, a little bit of step, and then you don't have to tell, and I never lie, but I don't tell people stuff if they don't ask. So, for example, after I'd been in this job for about 6 months, the guy came and said, I need a copy of your degree. And I said, well, I have a degree. I mean, how do you think I'm working in investment banking at the age of 21? And he said, but we don't hire people who don't have a degree. And I said, well, it's going okay, isn't it? And then he said, yeah, I guess. And you can't tell anyone that you got in and we didn't check this. And so here's another thing that I really believe in, that people who are like fairly smart and who have balls can do practically anything. And today, when I hire people into my companies, then that's what I look at. You know, do you have the skill and are you willing to do something for it? And then I don't really care if you have the experience. Because I don't think that's what it's about, right? And I'm sorry to say this in like the holy land of education, but I also don't care what your education is. And I certainly don't care about your grades. You know, like, okay, you guys are engineers, so yours is marginally more relevant than if you're studying something at the other universities. But mostly, I don't even look at that, you know. I mean, I used to be the CEO of Venture Corp, and I don't even know what all these titles mean, you know. MSc, PH, PX, PL. What is that? You know, like Master of Aerodynamics? I don't know, like, but do you manage to catch my attention in the first 3 lines of your CV? Okay, well then you're probably a cool person, you know? It's not really relevant for me if you can design space rockets or, you know, quote Plato. I have no idea what that abbreviation means, and so what? But anyway, to get back to the story, so I managed to get this job in this company where we're advising these really rich people. And this was much better for me because here it was really about people, right? There was still a little detail of having to multiply their fortune. But the other side of the job was really good fun because that was actually creating relationship with these very rich individuals. And I found out that that was something that I was quite good at. So quite quickly, and probably one of the reasons why I didn't get fired despite not having a degree, was quite quickly a lot of these rich people would prefer talking to me than to some of my colleagues who were much more qualified. And that's because I would do all these little things, trying to go a bit above and beyond. Like, my clients all lived all over the world. But when they came in, then I would make sure that I knew they were in London. You know, I would send flowers to their hotel room. I would make sure we invited them out for lunch. I would remember the names of their kids, you know. And all these little things, like clients and users are not users. They're people. And that is like such a core thing in having being successful in growing your company, is to stop treating people like stats, you know, and trying to see, okay, if I was a person, what would I like here? So I did that, and in the end ended up doing quite well in private banking because of that. You know, by this I knew a little bit about finance, but I mean, still I would say probably be questionable whether I should have been the person in charge of all these people's fortunes. But they're clever people, right? So they don't really need my help. And some of them are so clever that one of them bought this little boat. And it's not so little, right? It has a helicopter on the back. And I was sitting and I thought, I'm on the wrong side of this table. Because I may be making about 30% more than most of the people my age group right now. but it doesn't matter if I save up for the rest of my 200 lives. I'm not going to be able to afford that boat. And things, I really like boats. But the point is, that's not me. I'm supposed to do like a little dance or something now.
Okay, that
was totally planned.
Like 5 minutes. That was the signal.
Right. The thing is that I found out that half of these people who had in as client, they had started from scratch, yeah. And what I think is interesting, because I hate boats, so it's not about the boat. What I think is interesting is that one person can create that much in a lifetime that you have the freedom to do something like that. And that is the key word for me. For me, it's about freedom. It's about being able to do what I do when I want to do it, right? I definitely work harder than most people, but it doesn't matter, because to me it's not a job. To me it's like a hobby, you know? It stresses me out insanely if I have a lot of time where I can't work. I hate being out of the loop with what's happening. So I decided that I wanted to learn the skills of becoming an entrepreneur, and then I started doing that. This is my first company. It looks crap, right? But I made the visual design in Excel because I'm a banker, right? Not a graphic designer. So I think when you consider that it's made in Excel, it's not too bad. And this was the first company I started. I spent about 4 years learning the skills to become an entrepreneur before I finally had the guts to go out and do it. So I spent a lot of time trying to learn what I needed to know in order to be able to do the job. And this was the first one that I started, and it was actually meant to be like a little testing that I could afford to fail, you know. Like if this went wrong, then I wouldn't have to like sell my house or live in a cardboard box. But it went quite well, and it got sold. And it got sold about 12 months after I started the company. And if I wasn't already hooked on becoming an entrepreneur then I certainly was at that point, right? Because then I had proven to myself that I can actually do this. And I come from like a totally ordinary middle class background in Nordjylland, you know, like there's no one in my family who's entrepreneurs. I didn't have a lot of money to start with. I didn't even know the word entrepreneur, you know, it never came up in my education. So I didn't have anywhere to start with. And at this point, everyone was still, they weren't really telling me they were insane. I was insane. They were more like in disbelief, like, what are you doing? I totally wasn't hip to become an entrepreneur, and people didn't really understand. It was most like, oh, sorry, I thought you had a job. Like, yeah, thanks. I do kind of have a job. It just doesn't pay, and okay, never mind, I don't have a job. But it was hugely fun, and now I could never go back. The worst thing that could happen for me was that I would have to take a normal job, right? Or hey, why should someone else tell me what to do? Right? I love to work in a team and stuff, but I'm totally over that stage, you know. And I know a lot of people graduate from university with the hope of getting a job with one of the big companies, and I think that's brilliant, you know. Then I don't have to do it. So I learned like a couple of things that summarizes. How much time do I have left? 1 minute. Okay, right. And only 12 slides. So I learned a couple of things. Which I think is what makes entrepreneurs successful. Also, mostly people who are much more successful than me. So that's the thing. The first thing is action, right? No one has any better information than you do. No one, Richard Branson had the same knowledge as you did at one point. Bill Gates has the same amount of knowledge. The difference between them and the ordinary guy on the street is that they did something about it. So action is really the number one thing. It's all about accelerated learning, right? If you really suck at something that you need to learn how to do, like to sell or to code or whatever, something that you have to learn how to do, then just start doing it and fail at it, you know? Build a product that's meant to fail, you know? Build a mobile application that you don't know anything about. Like, the only way to learn, and sorry, I hope the principal is not here, the only way to learn it is to do it. You're not going to learn anything from reading books, yeah? You're not going to learn anything from going to school.
I just hope that the dean of the undergrads is not going to be here.
I know. I'm so glad I'm not in Venture Cup anymore. It was definitely not allowed to say that back then. Sorry. So there's a couple of reasons why you don't just have to do this, we need you to do this, right? Because for me, I think you should do it because you should go out and make yourself happy. But the thing is that this country is also going to shits, right? And it would be really nice to change that. I'm not going to go through it. These are like, I haven't made this up. In 1950, there was 12 working people for everyone under 65. In 2050, there'll be 3, okay? In 2050, there'll be you working. I don't know if you want to calculate yourself how fast you have to run if we don't start working smarter. But we're doing something already, like this is some of the stuff that's happening in Denmark. We've invented a lot of useful stuff. 2 days ago, there was something called the Europas, which is European Tech Awards. And we came in on like a really decent placement for a lot of our startups here in Denmark. And actually won 6% of the prizes, or the people who are like finalists, 6% of them were Danish companies. But we are like 0.39% of the population in Europe, right? So we're already pretty good. We're starting in a good place. So this is where you make a difference, right? Henry Ford said this, and I totally believe in it. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So if you think that you can't do it, then that's correct. But the only thing it takes is for you to change your attitude, and then you can. It's quite a profound truth, and I'm going to finish on that. I think you should start today. I think that today is the first day in the rest of your life, and there's not going to be any better time to do it. And yeah, that's all I want to say. I put my details up at the top. I'd love to hear from you. I would also, if you want, you don't have to start something yourself, right? Join something. You don't have to be the entrepreneur in it. Just start doing something, you know. Just take the next baby step to what you need to do. And if you want to keep quite closely in track of what it means to build a startup, then, I mean, go become a beta tester at Everplaces, because we're making a lot of mistakes at the moment. If you're being a beta tester, you'll be in first hand, and you'll be able to follow what's happening and the process we're doing. And we very much listen to people who are using it, and we take your advice to decide which step we go next. Because one thing I've learned in the last 10 years is, you know, I don't know anything compared to the crowd. And luckily that doesn't change my ability to, or my belief in that we can still do it and we can still kick ass. And I think that you guys can too.
Thank you, Tine. Thank you, Tine, so much. So we can take one question from the public, if you are fast enough. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3. No question, guys. Everything.
It must have been a good presentation. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Good.
One there. 1 second. The mic is coming.
So tell me, are you far on your way to getting your boat? Or do you have a long way left?
Well, I think I'm doing what's called succeeding backwards, which meant that, you know, in London I still make like twice the money as what I do today. But so definitely not. Maybe it's lucky that I hate boats. No, but I'm totally happy, and I jump out of bed in the morning, and right now I'm part of building something that we think is going to change the future of the travel industry. So I'm happy today.
Just a follow-up question. Do you, with your business, do you want to make the world a better place, or do you just want to make a profit?
I think, I mean, I'm sitting in a clean tech conference, right? So saying that making travel information more available and personalized will make the world a better place is maybe stretching it a little. So, I mean, you guys are trying to save the planet. I think that's a better thing for the world. I don't care about money. You know, like, I would like to get what Tommy Ahlers calls the fuck you money, which means that you have enough money that you can tell your investors to... Sorry, Jacob. You know, like, I want to have the freedom to make the decisions based on what I want to do. I never want to be in a position again where I have to do something because I need the money. So I would like a little bit of money to buy me that freedom. I'm already in a pretty okay position because of the startups I've had before this. But I want it to come big, and I want it to be something that people use and something that makes people's lives nicer and stuff, right? I definitely don't care about the money, but I'm extremely focused on money in my company because that is the way the world works, right? It's fine to have an idealist CEO, but in the end of the day, I need investors to make my company massive, and they need money, and I'm totally fine with that. I mean, that's the way we do business.
Okay, thank you so much, Tina. Again, a big applause. And thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So now I invite on the stage the second session startups. So we have, in order, Rita, E.G.G, Smart Grid, and the Biolab. So please,
Sorry.
come on in. You need a presentation, right?
Yeah.
Rita. There you go. Okay, so rules are simple. A 3-minute speech, and then I'm gonna cut you off. Just say your idea. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Lars Petersen. I come from a company called Retap. We're placed over there. We do empty water bottles, empty glass water bottles. And why start something as silly as that in a world of clean tech? You know, if you talk to money people, they don't understand it until we actually start telling them the numbers. I'm not going to do that for you guys. But why did we actually start this? We started because the market situation is absurd. People drink water that has more than 5 billion people in the world have access to safe drinking water. Nonetheless, people tend to buy water at 2,000 times the cost to get it in a plastic bottle. That then has a huge impact on our environment. Whoops, sorry. But what Retap wanted to do was to do something good for the environment, but also to turn it into a profitable business. So by replacing bottled water, we actually save 342 kilos at least of CO2 per 1,000 bottles. And we have a payback time for, let's say, corporates who decide to implement Retap instead of having bottled water. That's paid back within 3 weeks. That means it's rather profitable. Anyways, what we achieved right now in terms of environment is that we save the world more than 100,000 plastic bottles a day. It's quite a lot. And that equals to more than 30 tons of CO2 a day as well. But we also want to grow. So next year, by this time, we're replacing at least 600,000 plastic bottles a day, saving the world at least 180 tons of CO2 per day.
Okay, done? Okay, great, super. Okay, okay, third close. Let's go. Okay, E.G.G, Smart Grid. Are you ready, Peter? Yeah. You need a presentation? Yeah, 1 second. 1 second. Here we go. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, the stage is yours, 3 minutes.
Thank you. All right. Hello, my name is Peter. I'm a PhD student at the Center for Electric Technology here at DTU. And I'm here to pitch a concept on the topic of electric vehicle integration. So I'm going to start by addressing 2 trends very fast. One thing is the integration of renewable energy into the Danish power system, which is obviously a good thing. But of course, it also comes with a set of challenges, I'm sure you know, such as keeping the balance between production and consumption at all times. The second big trend is just a quote to say that it is a real problem to address these problems of integrating electric more renewables into the Danish power system. The second trend is integration of electric vehicles. The electric vehicles are coming, but the biggest barrier right now for electric vehicle integration is the cost. The cost of purchasing an electric vehicle, mainly because of the battery in the car. So, the real question is, how do we maximize the value of the electric vehicle to the Danish power system, the end user, and society as a whole? And what we suggest is that we have a technology that allows this link between the electric vehicle and the power system, And we have a system that can earn money for the end user while at the same time supporting the power companies and keeping the balance and the environment. And just a picture to show that these technologies actually already exist. Technologies that allows us to communicate to electric vehicles and coordinate their behavior to the state of the power system. We did a rough estimation, and if you look at the money, the value being earned on the secondary reserve, what's called the secondary reserve markets in DK West, you can actually earn as much as 0.7 euros an hour doing absolutely nothing day in and day out, just providing your electric vehicle as a service to the power system. And as we see the sales of electric vehicle ramps up, we can see that the time to act is really now to facilitate this integration of electric vehicles and to reduce costs. So that's our project, that's our concept, make your electric vehicles smarter.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much. Let's give applause. Yeah, you can just pass the microphone. So you also have the presentation, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, third keynote speaker, third startup, we have BioLab.
Hello everyone, and great to see so many people here today, and thanks for all the good presentations so far. I'm Tobias, and I'm here to present BioLab. It's a virtual laboratory for teaching biotechnology to children from the 8th to the 12th grade, and possibly in universities as well. But first, let's have a look at how lab exercises are done today. Reports have shown that learning effectiveness of lab exercises is very low. Moreover, lab exercises in schools are involving high costs related to equipment, chemicals, and time spent. So to solve this problem, we have invented BioLab. And the BioLab is a virtual laboratory where children can actually work with real-world assignments in a virtual environment. So here the student is producing insulin. And with the click on this button, the student can actually zoom in on a molecular level and see what's actually happening. This is not at all possible on schools today, of course. And finally, the student can actually test the produced specimen on a mouse. And this is of course not possible due to ethical and security reasons. And actually, the mouse will die if it's given too much insulin. So let's compare how BioLab performs compared with a traditional lab. One case in BioLab costs then 10 euro per student. In a traditional lab, an exercise might cost at least 45 euro. So with BioLab, we're actually giving students better and more efficient learning at a lower price. So where is BioLab today? Actually, BioLab has been sold to the Technical University of Denmark. This is just the license of the product. We have received very positive feedback from the high school students that have used the product. We have more than 100 students that have tried it so far. And it will actually be launched next month, or no, actually this month, in the end of November. Let's take a look at the market. We believe we have more than 518 million potential users worldwide. This is actually all children in the secondary schools. With a small investment of...
I'm just sorry, there's a video problem, but you can keep going with your pitch.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, we'll fix it later.
Oh, well, anyways, you should have seen a slide now with some numbers, and it's shown here on my computer, but I don't know if it can you won't be able to see it if I turn it around anyway. So, anyways, we believe we have more than 580 million potential users worldwide, and with a small investment, we will reach approximately 6 million euro turnover in 2015. Then I would tell a little bit about our team, but actually what is more important right now is that we are looking for more developers. So if any of you guys here are interested in working for a company like ours, and we actually have some money to pay you, which is quite unusually for a startup at our size. So if any Flash developers are sitting in here, or anybody knows some Flash developers interested in working for a startup company, please come to my stand over there. I would also like to invite all of you to the launch event at the 30th of November here at DTU. You can get an invitation at my table as well. And finally, let's use Biolab to get better science education to students all over the world. We believe this can be a tool to make the world a better place and to bring better science education to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.